Baldy, happy New Year, my man. I saw you out there in Nashville watching an upset between the Titans and the Jaguars as the Titans knocked the Jaguars completely out of the AFC playoffs. But, Baldy, I do want to start here. Last night's football game, Michigan, Washington. You know you love it. I love it because it was won in the trenches. That's what this time of season is about, Baldy.
Yeah, you're right, Monte. I mean, Michigan the way they started the game, I didn't think the thing would ever become a game. But they just dominated them in the run game, defensively, scheme-wise. But that's Harbaugh. That's who he is. That's what he did in San Francisco. That's what he did at Stanford. That's what he's done at Michigan now. 15-0. I don't care what you do. You're perfect in anything, whether it's a sport or whatever. Blackjack, you win 15 in a row.
Right.
I'll crown you a champion.
As just a fan of the game, do you want to see Harbaugh back in the NFL?
Hell yes. Yes. We need coaches with that, that just aren't a stick in the mud, that are just buried in their charts. I need a coach who's active on the sideline, that's engaged, that's fiery. Like, we need those coaches. There's not enough of them. And yes, I want Harbaugh badly in the NFL.
Yeah, I miss him in the league, too. He's so quirky, so unique, and, he's done what he's done, and he has a chance to join Pete Carroll, Barry Switzer, Jimmy Johnson, and there may be some more here. I don't think that's a long list, I should say, Baldy, of guys who've won an NCAA championship and a Super Bowl championship. He could join that club, man. That'd be iconic. And we know he's gone to a Super Bowl already going up against his brother, but that could be special for Jim Harbaugh here. But just looking around the league, and let's start with the Niners and the Rams. Look, the Niners weren't playing for much. They start Sam Darnold. I thought he played okay. Carson Wentz on the other side playing for his NFL future. What was your main takeaway from that game here as Puka Nacua breaks a rookie record for receiving yards and, of course, receptions? What was your big takeaway in a game that was full of backups?
I think, the Rams, they played their starting offensive line a lot, and they're impressive. They're a good group. How they seal the edges with the receivers and the tight ends, and their running game is impressive. I think they're very sharp up front right now, and they're playing well. And then I just think the fact that, the starters for San Francisco did go out there, and they did go through pregame warm-up and practice and everything, and just trying to stay sharp. Obviously, you want to get them off the field, before anything happens. But, Chase Young played a lot of snaps. He needs it. He played 57 of the 68 or 69 snaps. He needs to be better. He needs to be an impactful player. So I thought that was impressive that, he was out there playing. I'm just looking, at Trent and looking at some of the guys that did play. Like, you got to practice being sharp in order to be sharp when you have to be sharp.
So looking at this team, Baldy, the Rams are built to win in this time of the year. Their receivers are hot. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. Matt Stafford is playing like one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Now, they have to get past Detroit, and, talk about just amazing storylines going back to Detroit. Matthew Stafford, are you kidding me? Detroit's first home game since I've been alive, 30 years. Pretty wild. Is this the most dangerous teams for the Niners in hopes to get to a Super Bowl? Are the Rams the most dangerous team if you're a 49ers team that you do not want to face?
I think so. Because I don't think it really matters who the way I think Sean McVay has coached his team is forget about the records. They've won, 6 of their last 7, whatever it is now. I think they just worry about themselves. They'll game plan for the opponent, and they'll attack the opponent's weaknesses and all that kind of stuff. But I just feel like it doesn't matter where they go right now, who they play, what time of the day or what day of the week they play. I feel like you're going to get the very best that the Rams have. And I think they're a dangerous team because of the way they execute and the way that they have been coached all year. They're very hot, but they're hot because they execute.
Yeah.
And they kind of know who they are right now. And I don't care who's covering Puka Nacua. You can put Travarius Ward on him. The guy beat every single corner in this league this year. Every one. We haven't quite seen anything like it. Oh, that's right. Cooper Kupp did it 2 years ago. Their timing and their passing routes is scary good.
So, real quick, Baldy, what do you make of Shanny kind of owning McVay head-to-head? I know the biggest one that I'm sure Shanahan would love to have is the one that McVay owns in the NFC Championship a few years ago. But historically, this matchup has been one-sided with Kyle Shanahan. What is it about? Is it about the offensive scheme the players? What is it about Shanahan versus McVay and Shanahan getting the best of them for the most part?
I thought, going back, even just a couple of years ago, I thought the 49ers physically beat them in the line of scrimmage. That's what it looked like to me. And that's why they owned them. Now, I think the 49ers were a better roster with more talent than the Rams for the most part. The Rams got hot at the right time of the year 2 years ago and, won it all. But I felt like when they were owning them and winning, game after game, it was because of how the 49ers beat them up in the trenches. But the Rams are a lot better there now. They're a lot better up front on the offensive line than they have been. And then I think defensively, these rookies, Byron Young and Kobe Turner and some of these young guys have really developed as the season's gone on.
Talking to Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game, as we do every single week on a Tuesday morning at 7:30. And you're on it. You're on it, Baldy, with this Rams team. Kerryon Williams running with so much physicality. You still got Aaron Donald on the other side. That no-name defense. They're flying around the football, hitting people. So they do expose weaknesses. What would that weakness be for the 49ers defensively, Baldy?
Well, I mean, you have seen good quarterbacks. You've seen Kirk Cousins and, Joe Burrow carve them up pretty good. And even Baker played them pretty tough. And so, I just think good quarterback play against primarily zone teams. I mean, if you're precise the way Minnesota was that one game, you can move the ball against them. And so the pass rush has not been furious. We saw that. Kirk Cousins dropped back 45 times. They didn't put him on the ground once. So the pass rush, unless they're blitzing, isn't winning enough. And that's the way it has been. And so maybe they crank it up here, in the postseason. I'm sure that they're being told that and being shown that in some games. But to me, the pass defense is probably what I would worry about most, just because teams have had success against them.
Pass defense, and also the kicker now, Brian Baldinger,
They're
Jake Moody.
Out. Hey, Baldy, he missed one extra point.
We're freaking out about Jake Moody. Should Niners fans be worried about a missed chip shot field goal, now missed extra point for the rookie kicker? I mean, I'm sure he's happy that his Michigan team won, but I mean, how are Niner fans feeling about the rookie kicker heading into the playoffs?
I always would be worried, honestly. I mean, if you're not worrying, you're not working.
Right.
Aubrey, the kid in Dallas hasn't missed a field goal all year. Justin Tucker doesn't miss field goals. So if you miss a kick and an extra point, you're worried. But there's nothing you can really do about it. You have to, if that something like that happens, you have to overcome it. But if it's to win a game and you miss, you won't be able to live with yourself. So I mean, I'd be worried. I just would, because sometimes these kickers go sideways quick.
Yeah.
It just does. It's the way I remember when Minnesota beat Atlanta in 1998. Atlanta's kicker had made 40 in a row.
Oh no, the other side, Baldy, Minnesota. I knew you were going to go there. That was on the top of my mind. Right. I was thinking about that game in the Metrodome when the Dirty Birds with the Minnesota and who was it? Gary Anderson.
Gary Anderson had made 40 in a row.
Yep.
And then he missed a kick to win the game.
Yep.
So you always worry about kickers. You always worry about returners putting the ball on the ground. I was in Dallas. We had a rookie punt returner, fumbled in the end zone. Washington got it. I mean, Hail to the Redskins was being played. I hadn't got that song out of my head yet. I would worry about all that stuff.
No, you're right. It could come down to a single play, and Ray McLeod is back because Ronnie Bell's putting the ball on the turf a little bit. So, no, those are areas to be worried about. But I think one guy we're not worried about right now is Brock Purdy. I like the way he bounced back against Washington. No, I hadn't talked to you since that game, but Brock Purdy heading to this playoff, his second go-round, he's seeing everything. How confident are you in him helping this Niners team stay afloat here offensively where they average nearly 30 points a game?
Yeah, I mean, look, the regular season is regular season, Bonte, and he played great, and he got through a couple sticking points, but for the most part, he's their guy. They're not going anyplace else, and so it's playoff football, and it's played at a different intensity. Sometimes they just swallow the whistle, and guys are hitting you, and they're not going to throw the flag. Generally, not as much as the regular season. You're not going to get that kind of stuff being done out there, pass interference calls and all that. You got to go beat teams.
Right.
And, it's, we saw, for example, they came to Philly and the first two drives didn't look very good. They're 3 and out. they're playing from behind, and then they roll. Well, you don't really want to start a playoff game like that because sometimes the other team possesses the ball, and all of a sudden, what you think you might get 12 possession, you might only get 8. And so it's just you can't play tight. You got to go play, but at the same time, you've got to be precise, and you just hope that the practice habits, on the week off, are really, really good. I have a feeling they will be. But whoever they play at Levi Stadium, a divisional round, you just want to hit the field running and executing right away. And you won't know it until they do it.
Gosh, Baldy, you got me fired up here thinking about these playoffs. And Spadoni mentioned it earlier. The storylines galore. Stafford going back to Detroit. You got the Browns taking on the Texans, the teams that traded. Of course, the Texans traded away Deshaun Watson to Cleveland, although he's not playing. But now they have a young C.J. Stroud who's just spinning it left and right. You got the Packers and Cowboys. McCarthy coaching against his former team. You got the Eagles and Bucks in a rematch from earlier this season. Tyreek Hill going back to Arrowhead Stadium against the Kansas City Chiefs. What matchup are you looking forward to the most here? All the matchups are great. We're going to watch all the games. But what's the one for you, Baldy?
I don't know. I would say the Rams go to Detroit because, Detroit's the number 2 seed. Rams are a lower seed. But the Rams just look good. They just are playing the game the right way. I'm looking for that one. And then I want to see if, I don't know that any quarterback, I don't know if I even believe what I'm going to say here because I don't like to talk about this kind of stuff, but is there more pressure on anybody more than Dak?
Wow.
He's been the focal point of that team. Is Dak going to end up becoming in that category with Troy and Roger, or is he going to be Tony Romo good? It's like he's a big part of it. CD is all world, all that stuff. They're a good team. And some weeks they look unbeatable, and they look like this is a great offense. This is San Francisco and Dallas, like they're on a collision course. And then you go, and then you see them some weeks, and you're like, maybe not. And so I think those 2 games have me most intrigued on Sunday.
So, Baldy, a big topic of conversation we've been having is rest versus rust. When it comes to these number 1 seeds now, you got the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson's probably going to win his second MVP, playing like the best team in the league. They go out guns blazing. They got some time off. The Niners, same thing. I know they just took a loss, but this was really just a rest week for them too. What do you make of the rest versus rust factor for these number 1 seeds in both the Niners and the Ravens going into the playoffs?
Well, there's a lot there, Joe. For example, okay, let's rest. Let's get fresh. Okay. Well, rest sometimes to some people means, it's just shut it down. You can't shut it down. You can't mentally shut it down. You got to be on edge. So you got to keep the edge and freshen up and stay sharp. And it's hard. It's hard. We've seen a lot of number 1 seeds have that week, and then they don't play like number 1 seeds. And so it's a delicate balance. Practice has to be as important. I remember when the Eagles won a Super Bowl, they were the number 1 seed 5 years ago, 6 years ago now. And the players said, let's put the pads on, let's get after it. Even Super Bowl week, getting ready for New England, they were in pads in Minnesota. And so sometimes your players have to say, you know what, we're going to be better if we go out there and thump a little bit and, we take this thing up intensity-wise as high as we possibly can without, obviously injuring anybody or anything like that. But, you've got to do the things necessary to stay really sharp and crisp because it's such a fine line between execution and almost executing.
No, you're spot on there, Baldy, with that one. I'm with you there. And if it is a Rams team, because I'm with you with Detroit. Detroit, I'm watching them last week against Minnesota, and they, we don't know about the status of Sam Laporta, their all-world rookie tight end. It's a massive loss for them. But they were giving up deep shot after deep shot to Nick Mullins, and you see Addison score a touchdown. You see Justin Jefferson, and you bring up Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. It's hard for me seeing Detroit winning that game. I get it, they're going to be at home, but the Rams been there, done that. You know what I mean, Baldy?
Well, yeah, they have. And, all I say is they went into Baltimore a month ago, and they put up 31 points on the Ravens, and nobody's been doing that. And the way that they played is exactly what you see. Stafford throws these shot throws, Bonte, honestly, I don't even know. The player hasn't even come out of his break yet, and the ball's hitting the spot.
Yep.
And he just trusts his receivers. And there's a bunch of them, including Demarcus Robinson, that all of a sudden they put their hands out and the ball's right there. I mean, it's just amazing. And then there's some times where, he's got to get to the third read. And, he's going to take a shot to the solar plexus. And he does, and he's lasering these balls in, and he's under center a lot, which I love. And their play action pass, because Kyron's been so good. Like, they're just clicking.
Right.
And the same things that made them successful 2 years ago are making them successful now. Their defense might not be as good as it was 2 years ago, but these young kids that they have play really, really hard. They play the game the right way.
Baldy, we appreciate the time. We know you're up against it here, so I'll leave you with this one. So we've mentioned that the Rams are the biggest threat to the Niners. Of the teams that they could potentially face outside of them, the Packers, the Bucks, and the Eagles, which one of those teams you think would pose the most problems for San Francisco?
Jordan Love is playing great, and nobody is running the ball better than Aaron Jones the last 3 weeks. He's averaging over 110 yards a game the last 3 weeks. He missed a month, and his legs look fresh. And one thing about Aaron Jones, he doesn't miss a hole. Like, I don't care if it's 6 inches. He doesn't miss it. This guy's eyes are unbelievable. And so Jordan Love, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. I mean, he's throwing this ball to these kids. They're just barely can, get a driver's license at this point. But I don't care. Dontavius Wicks and Reed and these guys, they're really good. He threw 32 touchdown passes this year, and he was spectacular. I mean, they could be a good offense and a tough offense to stop in the playoffs.
No, it's going to be fun to watch here. Lastly, before we let you go, I got to get your thoughts on what happened in New Orleans. Arthur Smith was not happy with the Falcons. 41-17, Saints in victory formation. Jameis took the bullet for the Saints, but basically they handed it off to Jamal Williams to run up the score a bit there. What's your overall thought process there? There's a lot of controversy down in New Orleans about that situation.
Yeah, I think sportsmanship, there's a place for it. Like, Jamal Williams had 17 weeks to score a touchdown.
Right.
Okay, like, his role changed from Detroit. But he had 17 weeks to score a touchdown. He didn't score. Like, what's the big deal? Honestly, like, I understand Jameis is about team and players love him, but there is something about when you line up in a victory formation with the game out of hand that you're basically throwing a white flag. To take advantage of that situation where the defense really isn't defending, that's not really like sportsmanship.
Right.
So I have a problem with the mentality right there. If you want to say, okay, like, tell the defense, hey, we're going to score.
Right.
Like, buckled up, let's go.
Right.
Like, let's see if we can earn this touch. Like, you're just giving them a free touchdown after the defense is basically surrendering. I have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, that was a very awkward situation there. They had 41 points. Yeah, I'm kind of with you there, Baldy, after letting dust settle there. Baldy, I know you got to run, but are you calling any playoff games this weekend? Where you at,
Well,
Baldy?
I was. If Jacksonville, went to Tennessee and won, I would be doing one this weekend. But since Jacksonville's not going and Houston is, I'm not going now.
Oh, gosh, Baldy, we need you on playoff football, man. I know you're going to be analyzing everything.
I'm doing the Hula Bowl on Saturday, so
right.
I'm still going to be doing football.
By the way, Jacksonville, easily the most disappointing team in the NFL, the way they faltered, right?
Yep. 8-3 and a complete collapse.
Oh, my gosh. I can't believe it. 4th and goal. Trevor Lawrence can't get the ball over the goal line. I was thinking it out there in Nashville.
He didn't run the play that was called.
Yeah,
the play that was called was going to be a walk into the end zone. He did it on his own. It was just, sometimes players got to blow off the coach, but the play was set up to go score the touchdown.
All right, Baldy. Playoffs are here finally. This is the real football season. Cold weather, hard hitting. I cannot wait to talk to you next week when we figure out who the Niners are playing.
See you, Bonte. See you, Joe.
All right, Baldy. Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast on 95.7 The Game. A little primer there.
He's the best.